Recording. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Janice Atwell. My name is AC Tierney, and I'm from Thrive, Virginia. I'm a case manager and outreach specialist, and today we are going to be interviewing Janice Atwell for Social Work Awareness Month, Social Workers Awareness Month. And she's going to tell us a little bit about her role as a social worker and what that means for her. So welcome, Janice.
Hi.
Do you mind introducing yourself and just sort of giving us an idea of, where you work, what your role is, all that good stuff?
Sure. I'm Janice Atwell. I'm an LCSW and I work for Henrico Mental Health and Developmental Services. We provide services for Henrico County, Charles City County, and New Kent County. And my role is I'm a program coordinator and I run the office in New Kent that provides services for Charles City County and New Kent County.
Gotcha. And it sounds like from what I've heard about y'all, you guys have mental health services as well as some medical services, and then you also kind of specialize in some services to work with folks living with addiction. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we provide mental health and substance abuse services in our office. We treat adults and children.
Gotcha.
And so there's also there's two clinicians in our office that provide the mental health and substance abuse services, in addition to myself, who I also run the office, but I also have a caseload and assist with some of the therapy. And then there's also a case manager that helps with people with serious mental illness, and they provide services in the case management realm for that. Also housed in our office, we have a case manager that deals with the intellectual disabled population.
Gotcha.
And but that's sort of in a different program area. So they have a whole different supervisors and stuff like that,
Right.
but they're in our office.
Gotcha.
We also provide for our individuals that do come in for therapy, if needed, we have an adult prescriber for medications.
Gotcha.
And so they're there part-time, they're not there every day.
Right.
And then anybody that's a client in our agency does have some access to other services in our entire agency.
Gotcha.
Basically, we're on a much smaller scale because
Right.
of, we're a satellite office basically.
Right.
And yeah, and the most exciting news and things that we've been doing, it's been over a year now. In February of last year, right before the pandemic,
Yeah.
we started an OBOT program to serve individuals with opioid addiction.
Gotcha.
So that program, surprisingly, we've been able to maintain. And
that's amazing.
It to start a program like 2 weeks before we shut down was an interesting venture, let me tell you. But everybody's real creative, and we've been able to provide that service throughout the pandemic. And we're slowly starting to open up again. So not providing the group part of it, that's through telehealth, but we do have some other face-to-face services for that.
Gotcha.
So.
Well, that's pretty awesome. I think obviously you're a satellite agency in New Kent, or is it Providence Forge?
It's Providence Forge, but that's part of New Kent. Yeah. You cross over the railroad tracks, you're in Charles City over that way.
Right.
So, yeah.
And then your larger office is in Henrico, and you're
right.
For a small agency or a small office, I feel like it's awesome that you guys are able to do all of the services and really provide, a comprehensive list of services for people, whether it be working with folks with addiction or with chronic mental health issues. Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So we've been doing that for quite a few years there. We try to, if we can't provide that service or a service for an individual, we try to link them to somewhere that they can get that service, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So,
that's amazing. So tell me a little bit about you specifically. Where did where did you go to school? How did you kind of get into social work? What was sort of your avenue or your way of getting into this field?
Well, I've always wanted to work in the mental health field.
Mhm.
I aspired to be a therapist, but I got my undergraduate degree in individual studies with a concentration on art therapy. Uh,
Wow, that's
and
awesome.
yeah, and I didn't do anything with that for quite a while. And
Mhm.
I did the normal things that people do. I got married, and
Right,
and
right,
I married someone that was in the military, so we traveled all over the place. So that didn't give me, um, uh, you know, access to. I had to go
right,
wherever, so it didn't always
right,
have access to what my field. So
right.
then I got to the point where I wanted to go and get my LCSW basically. So I went to VCU, got my master's and with a concentration in clinical mental health. And I got my degree and in 1992. So anyway, and then I started out, my first job was on a 19-bed psychiatric unit in North Carolina,
Gotcha.
and which I felt was actually didn't know it at the time, but it was a great place to start
Right.
work, and so I got experience. It was an adult psychiatric unit, and I got experience and exposure to lots of different types of mental illness and people and
Yeah.
things like that. So and then I left there after about 3 years and moved over into basically a mental health center in North Carolina for a while.
Uh-huh.
And then I actually provided services to children.
Oh,
And
nice.
through that, I did that. And then I went over to, at that time, it was an same day access clinician. And then I became the supervisor for the children services. And then in 2000, I moved to Virginia and I
Gotcha.
started out in the office that I'm still at.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been there for over 20 years.
Yeah,
I started out as a clinician and then
uh-huh.
eventually became the supervisor for the office. And that
That's great.
happened, I don't know, 12, 13 years ago. I kind of lose count after a while.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've been there ever since. Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm sure you've seen the community really grow and change over a 20-year period, and especially now that we're in a pandemic, like the differences
Yeah, it's
between
true.
between
So,
a year ago and now. Yeah.
well, the most interesting part, I think, for me is where I came from in North Carolina to
Yeah.
here is very similar. And I find that I like rural mental health, which
Yeah.
is kind of different as opposed to like more urban
Right.
settings. I think because you sort of have to put things together and there's a lot of community work involved in
Yeah.
that. I don't know in your time working where you are if you notice that every time there's a meeting there's the same people at every meeting,
Yes,
because it's
absolutely.
because the and over the years you form these bonds with these individuals and it might be an entirely different reason for that meeting, but it's the same people because
Right.
it's rural and people wear many hats,
Yes.
and sometimes you have to improvise and kind of really use some creative ideas to try to meet the community's needs. And
Absolutely.
I think I like the diversity of that. I like
Yes.
working with different populations and kind of working with community partners to try to meet people's needs. I love that. That's probably
I
why I'm doing the business.
Yeah, yes.
So,
I completely agree, and I think the best part about working in a rural setting is getting connected with those amazing community partners.
mhm,
And yeah, like the creativity and the diversity of that is amazing. And I feel
mhm,
like we get as like rural, service providers, we get to do so many amazing things that I think we wouldn't otherwise get to do maybe in an urban setting because we don't,
mhm,
maybe the folks in the urban settings don't wear as many hats or they're, you know,
right.
very, very pigeonholed to one particular area of service. But yeah, I feel you because I also wear a multitude of hats wherever I'm going.
Right. And
So
I some days it's kind of stressful, when
yeah,
you've got you when you have people that have a certain need and you desperately want them to get their need met and you're like, I have nothing,
yeah,
and so
where is the resource? Yeah,
where yeah, I don't know what to do,
right,
so
right.
but I think the partnering with different people over the years and and getting a call, it's like, hey, you know this is going on. What do you think?
Yes.
I like brainstorming and coming up with things. And we have served people, and really the heart and soul people have come out and given and been very generous, and that's what I think social work's about. And
Yeah.
I think that's the piece that kind of keeps me on course, I think.
Right. Right. So it's like one of the pieces that you find most rewarding is,
Oh yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. I agree. And it's great to hear from you too, because social work is also the field that I'm aspiring to be in at some point, and or to go on to get my MSW at some point. So it's really great to hear from folks that have experienced that and have had so much time in it. So thank you. I really appreciate you chatting with me today, Janice.
Oh, no problem.
Yes. Well, thanks so much. And yeah, we will see you next time.